Hello and welcome back to the Built Different podcast with your host, Steven Pettigrew. My guest on today's show is Kai Crayford, who owns a recruitment business out here in Dubai but works globally. He is a fascinating guy. We went into a lot of good topics, crypto, Bitcoin, the struggles of starting a business and what the future holds. It's a great episode, guys, so please go and check it out. If you like this sort of content, remember to hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and without any further ado, let's get into the episode. Kai, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. It's a pleasure. How are you today?
Very good. Yeah, really appreciate the invite, by the way.
No, you're welcome. We were on a boat party 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we had a chat over a few beers, and I thought this guy needs to come on the podcast because you had a lot of interesting stuff that I didn't fully understand, and I'm sure it'll help the listeners as well. But I actually wanted to start somewhere. When I was doing my research before this episode, I seen that a few months ago you were in the desert with Ollie Ollerton. Is that right?
Oh yeah, Ollie. Yeah.
And it fascinated me because that's something like just sounds so cool. So you explain what you were doing out there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, look, the backstory of that is as a family we have a French bulldog, and consequence of having a French bulldog, when you relocate to Dubai, you can't go through traditional methods, or you can, but unfortunately what that would have meant for her, because obviously she has a short nose, she would have had to fly from the UK to Turkey, then she would have had to stay in Turkey for a bit and then fly over from Turkey to Dubai. We just weren't comfortable with that as a family. So we, a quick plug to K9 Jets. Yep. We found K9 Jets in the UK, and suddenly I found myself on a private jet with, I think it was...
Did you do the private jet thing?
Yeah,
oh, wow. Okay.
6 or 7 other people, and Ollie was one of those people.
Yep.
Instantly, actually, because we all sat in certain parts of the cabin, we weren't really allowed to like move around.
Right.
I didn't actually speak to Ollie that much, but it was so weird. When I landed in Dubai, everywhere I turned, Ollie just appeared. And it got ridiculous to a point. I was like, I saw him on Waitrose, then I saw him in Reese, and then I saw him in Emirates Mall, and I was just like, what's going on? So we caught up, and actually he lives JG right next to me in Victory Heights. And I had no idea who he was, but my wife was like, oh, this is the guy from the TV show. Who Dares Wins. SAS Who Dares Wins. Yep. And I was like, oh, right, I didn't see that. And I started watching a little bit later, but then I sort of went back and saw Ollie and his, doing his thing, and I was like fascinated by him. But then we went out for lunch, classic Dubai sort of story, just text someone, how you doing, do you want to meet up? And we did. But he's an amazing individual. Yeah. He actually coaxed me into reading his book, so I've just read his book as well, which is great. Just a great guy, high energy. Never seen someone do so many press ups in one day. He's just an absolute machine. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was really thankful that he invited us out to the desert. We did.
What was that?
So it was really. He called it. I think it was manned up or manning up or something like that. But basically, it was 8 guys all in a similar situation, either entrepreneurial of some kind, running our own business, or high level contractors or something. And effectively, we went to the desert just to like relax, chill out. I say relax. There were ice baths. There were like climbing mountains. There were zip lines involved and all sorts. But it was just doing like guy stuff. Yeah. And I loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Met some really interesting people, learnt loads of stuff, and just experienced life, I think. Something that potentially I wouldn't have had exposure to in the UK.
No, definitely not. I think that's for sure. That's something I love watching all those programmes, the Bear Grylls stuff, and all the Orton stuff on SES. It's really cool. And Middleton and stuff.
Next time I'm invited, then
please, that'd be amazing.
That's good.
That'd be amazing. So there's loads of ways we can start this, but I think probably best for listeners, Kai, is just to give them a bit of an indication of what you do, your past, what brought you to Dubai, just give us a little bit of an insight into you.
So the immediate history is founder of Austin Werner. We are a tech-focused recruitment business. We've sort of found a niche in crypto. I would say sort of 85% of everything we do is crypto or digital asset led. Started that business in late 2017. Bought my first Bitcoin 2016, so I was aware of it. Wasn't really aware of it until suddenly the price shot up, and then I was like, oh, hang on a minute, there's something in this. And then we sort of blended our sort of traditional sort of fintech sort of experience into crypto, and then it just sort of carried on from there. Before that, got into recruitment quite late, in fact, when I was about 28. Joined a really fast-growing business called Lawrence Harvey, which is now, I think it's about 450 people. At the time, I was working with about 10 people in someone's house.
Yep. And, that's how it normally starts, isn't it? Yep.
And building their business, but they did amazing, and they really sort of gave me the grounding for what we do today. Prior to that, I was left university, sort of moved into sales, and I was never happy selling like a product. I could never sort of, the interaction with that product was pretty binary. It was just like, right, it does this, and you either buy it or you don't buy it. You have a need or you don't. So I was always looking for something different. And I think
it's a one-time thing, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. And in recruitment, the thing that I really embraced was the people side of it. Just getting to know people and understanding what their sort of uniqueness is, and then obviously being able to sell that uniqueness to businesses. But that's my short career history.
And that kind of niche within crypto recruitment and tech and Web3 and all that sort of stuff. Why is Dubai a place that you decided to? I'm guessing it wasn't just business reasons, but why is Dubai a good place for that type of business?
Yeah, so we were pretty, or we are still pretty well structured in the UK. I think the difference is when we assessed our business and where we looked at where business was coming from. Crypto, by nature, is borderless, so it's a global market. We were getting paid from US, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Singapore, all over the place, really. And I think when you look at that as a business holistically, you go, actually, this is not UK money, this is global money. So therefore, you need to look elsewhere in order to position a business. Our UK business, Austin Werner, is still the brand, ultimately, but we have a brand called Sync in Dubai now. My hope is that we build Austin Werner continually, Sync, and then we position somewhere else, maybe in Austin, the US, or somewhere, and then collectively we build a global sort of supply. But the reason for Dubai was the fact that it sort of shared the same ambition as me. Like, it's a very entrepreneurial place. A lot of the founders are based here. A lot of the treasuries are based in Dubai, so logically it makes sense to be able to walk out your door, meet the founders, and actually have proper business conversations. The
wealth's here. There's people in similar kind of spaces, and your clients are here, so you're in amongst it, aren't you? And that's a key thing.
I mean, as soon as I landed, I think it took me about a week to settle, and then suddenly I was like, right, let's meet for a coffee. And this was with a founder that I'd only communicated with over video call previously. And that was amazing. It's novel in crypto to be actually physically meet people. But I think it's really important because recruitment is a people business, ultimately. And the only way you can truly help someone is by understanding their business and understanding their pain points, but just sitting down and actually having a one-to-one with them.
That's something I think in business in general nowadays, we don't do enough of that in-person stuff anymore because of technology and because of what happened a few years ago. We're kind of not forced, but it's kind of, we're led on to Zooms and Google Meets and Teams calls. And when you don't have that human connection one-to-one like we're having just now, it's quite difficult to build those relationships. I'm curious, when obviously you've been in recruitment prior to maybe getting a niche in crypto, what kind of led you into that niche itself? Hey guys, Steven here with a quick interruption to the episode, but it's for good reason. I want to give a shout out to the official sponsors of the Built Different podcast, Suited and Booted. These guys are a premium formal and casual wear brand with stores across Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Glasgow. And I've been working with them for a while now, and to be honest, I was actually buying from them long before we became partners. I'm actually wearing some of their products today whilst recording this episode. They're on a mission to completely change the tailoring game, and they're doing it. The service, the attention to detail, the quality of the products, it's all first class. They genuinely outshine their competition. And you know what I love most is that we are aligned on values. They're humble, client focused, and all about creating a top tier experience. That's exactly how I try to run things too. So whether you're leveling up your wardrobe, prepping for your wedding, or just need to look sharp for a boat party, brunch, or big business event, go check out Suited and Booted. Head to suitedbooted.com, or better yet, visit one of their stores. You'll get the full experience and you'll leave feeling sharper, more confident, and ready for your next big event. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Crypto.
Yeah.
I think there was... So we used to be really strong technically, so product and software engineering, anything engineering led, we used to do really well at, because we first of all tend to like obsess about the tech, so we really like deep dive into it and understand it. I think the major thing for us is in the UK. I don't want to talk about numbers too much, but you know, in the UK you can place a senior engineer for 100 to 150k, and that's a really good placement.
Yep.
But when you start entering into a crypto market that is global by nature, what you tend to find is actually, because it's an innovative tech, you need really cutting edge software engineers. And then we realized that there was this sort of universal sort of salary within crypto, which is I think up to maybe a year or 2 years ago, it was well accepted that someone in like Vietnam could get paid the same as someone in the US. And because a lot of the salaries were US led, then it suddenly became a global market with much bigger salaries. So actually it was a pretty simple decision. It's like you could either place a software engineer at 100k, or you can place a software engineer at like 200, 230 or 250, sorry, with the same amount of work. So it was that. But what really, I think more than anything, was the tech that sort of led us into that market. It was just by consequence that it was the salaries were bigger and the fees are bigger. I think a lot of traditional recruitment companies can't wrap their head around how to actually engage these companies and work within their sort of frameworks. And I think that's the difficulty. But because we've been operating in it since like 2020, we've sort of seen these businesses grow, and we sort of understand, you know, their culture and things. So it's a lot easier for us to just, you know. Yeah,
and you've worked with some big players. I mean, even on the website, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention them, but they're on the website anyway. You know, Google. There's Dell as well, I think. A few other big names. I was like, wow, that's a lot of big clients you've got. And you know, we're moving into this space now where everyone needs to be thinking in their business about crypto, about AI. How can that be implemented in your business? In your opinion, is that something that most business owners should be looking at? Is it only for certain types of industries, or can that be applied across? Can what you do be applied across, you know, multiple industries across the globe?
Is the question, can business benefit from crypto and blockchain?
From crypto, blockchain, and also your ability to help them recruit in that sector?
Yeah, so one of the businesses that I'm invested in, which is a chat protocol called Simplex Chat. It was interesting. I was speaking to the founder recently. I'm a very small shareholder. I have no influence over the business at all, but they are a traditional tech business in the sense that they are building innovative tech, without the aid of blockchain and bits and bobs. But actually, by nature of what they do and the way that their tech is structured, I think their tech complements something like blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, they basically sort of said that they might be building into blockchain in the future, and they might, they will do assessments on whether or not they think that that is the right thing for them to do. But I think the community that they've attracted, I think, are really eager for that to happen. So it's interesting that sort of traditional tech businesses are now looking at blockchain as a solution for some, for growth, and which I don't think has been traditional. I think traditionally you either are a blockchain business or you are a traditional business.
Yeah.
But the basis of blockchain is just technology. Mm-hmm. It's not, anything. I think that when it comes to it, I think that people get confused when they hear the currency aspect.
Yeah.
I think that's what really they struggle with. But if you think about it as a technology stack, then it can be leveraged like any other tech.
Yeah, and I suppose in the past, and maybe still to this day, that's where I kind of struggle to wrap my head around is, what's the utility of these things? And I think that's probably what most people will struggle with. What maybe understand the concept, but what can I actually do with it? But I'm guessing each token, each product, each technology's got its own utility. It's just not been distributed.
I'm not sure they all have they all have their own utility. Like you look at meme coins.
Yeah, true.
And they're just they're rubbish.
Yeah.
What
are they? Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to actually peg meme coins now into other projects to have a utility, which is quite interesting. And I think the lack of compliance and regulation around crypto means that a lot of these projects don't have utility.
Yeah.
But there is a trend now, certainly in crypto, to not release a token and really get product market fit. So get a product that people want to use and leverage.
Yep.
And then at some point in the future, they will be able to create a token that has utility because within that ecosystem, it will do a certain function.
It'll do a job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas I think traditionally, with the invention of like Ethereum and smart contracts, people could produce tokens within like hours and just create a narrative around it. And then suddenly, that token has value if people choose to buy it.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because of like the whole psychology around this is quite interesting. When you see like meme coins, there's so many. The one that Elon Musk was doing, Dogecoin, I think it was, wasn't it? Initially, or he promoted anyway. And then there's the Hawk,
Doge, Doge.
The Hawk 2 girl.
Oh, yeah.
She, like all these people, creating these meme coins, creating a lot of money, then doing rug pulls, and people buy into the hype. It's really interesting psychology, actually.
So you look at someone like Trump's coin.
Yeah.
You would hope that someone like Trump has created a plan, right, for that token, and there is something of value that will happen over that period of time. But effectively, I think I heard some stat that there was like he earned 500 million in one day through that token alone, or something, which was just crazy. Yep. But there has to be some kind of utility for it, or what's the point? It does make me sad when I see these meme coins just like going crazy, sucking all the liquidity out of the market, when actually some of the real decent projects are getting sort of left behind and forgotten about.
Is regulation going to happen, you think, in space?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think with the US market being as pro-crypto as it is now, I think it will just evolve, and there'll just be natural regulation, compliance, everything applied to these things. And actually the projects that we're dealing with, they're actively, some of the biggest hires they make within their projects are compliance people. Right. They go through and they audit the entire business. and say, right, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to put this in place. And actually that's all positive, because fundamentally people are building proper businesses with proper utility. There will, until that day where there is really strict regulation on crypto, I think there will always be like meme coins and bits and bobs. Dogecoin is the ultimate meme coin. Yeah. It was a community-based joke coin to start off with, but actually it's proven that it's one of the most solid currencies or coins in the space. And it would be one of the best investments of any coin, I think. I don't own any, but...
Hey guys, quick one before we jump back into the episode. If you're a business owner or a high-performing exec and you've ever thought about buying a business without risking your own cash, then I've built something for you. I've launched a brand new online mentorship program that breaks down exactly how I've done it. Real world strategies, no fluff, no recycled theory, just the stuff that actually works. If you want to learn how to find deals, structure them properly and start building real wealth through acquisition, then click the link in the show notes or description and I'll see you inside. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah, I've dabbled in crypto and I think after this conversation I'll probably dabble a bit more. But it's certainly something we all need to get on board with. Going back to business itself then, and maybe the building of your business and the growth phase, what were some of the challenges you had initially starting the business, growing the business? Because you've got a super successful business now, you've got massive reach, you've got something like 70,000 people on LinkedIn across, maybe more than that, across your platform and also the business platform. But what were some of the challenges building the business?
Yeah, we had a bit of a funny start, actually. So the reason the business is called Austin Werner, a lot of English can't pronounce it. They always go Werner or Werner.
Especially Scottish, they can't pronounce it either.
But thankfully, the footballer Werner came over to Chelsea, which actually made our life a little bit easier. But previously I was quite successful in building a Swiss-based sort of supply team in a business previously. And I always I actively wanted to relocate and move to Zurich and set the business up over there. So we were like, let's have a Germanic name, makes so much sense. Yep. Austin is my son's middle name and Werner is my father's middle name. So I was like, let's combine that, do the classic recruitment, strong name, strong brand. And anyway, so we were going to sell a house. It was literally... I remember my wife's face when this day happened. She just totally panicked. But basically, on the day of exchange, our buyer pulled out without any
forewarning.
Nothing at all. So we were just like, oh, crap! This is a disaster, because I'd quit my job. Yep. Had no income. Not relocating to Switzerland anymore. Not setting a business up over there. And within the space of 5 days, I'd basically created a business in the UK, and I'd sent a post out on Twitter saying I've just created Austin Werner, and thankfully one of my old employees saw that text message and said, I see you've just started in recruitment, I would love you to recruit for us. So I loaned myself, I loaned myself $5,000 just to basically set the business up and do that. And then within 2 weeks, I'd paid back the loan and managed to find a candidate that was immediately available and invoiced straight away. Wow! So it was the classic scenario of like, it wasn't meant to be this way, but it was. You made it work. You had to make it work. To be, yeah. So the next evolution of that was, within I think maybe 9 months, I'd stopped working in my bedroom, and I built myself an office down the back of the garden, and then I'd moved out of the house, and then we had the home office, and then within 4 or 5 months of that, I had managed to convince one of the guys previously, a guy called Chris Hewlett, managed to convince him to work for me, and he's still working for me today, and he's one of the most valued employees. Yeah,
he's doing really well, isn't he?
Yeah. He's an incredible guy, like very, very talented at client relations, extremely talented at client relations. And I think when we look at it, we sit down and do our one-to-ones and things, we sort of understand that we complement each other.
You dovetail quite nicely.
Yeah, correct. So he's an account director now. One of the most senior people in the business, and
is your wife in the business as well? Yeah,
she's one of the founders of the UK. She basically does the account side, but we don't mix the sort of sales side and everything. I think we keep it fairly.
How do you find working with your wife?
We're so automated now
right,
that actually it's absolutely fine. Rach is just militant when it comes to like invoicing and follow-ups and things, but generally it's interesting actually. I wouldn't say we communicate that much about work anymore. We kind of your barriers and boundaries. We just do every now and then we do like lunch mornings. We sit down and really sort of discuss what it currently looks like, where we want to go, that kind of thing. But generally, we keep everything separate.
Yeah, it's interesting. So me and Sophie tried to work together a few years ago. It just didn't work. It wasn't compatible.
How long did you give it?
Not long. Not long. I mean, I had a transport business a few years ago, and we were at the stage where I was terrible at all the back office stuff. Making sure the invoices were sent out properly, making sure there was systems in place wasn't my strength, and I also just hated it. So Sophie's very much more detail orientated. I'm big picture, big vision.
Classic, yeah.
Yep, classic.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds similar with you and Rach, but Sophie was basically helping me tidy up all the fucking chaos that I was creating around me, and it did work. But because she is so detail orientated and I'm exactly the opposite, she was trying to get detail out of me, and you
got frustrated by that. You're like, I don't need this right now.
I don't need to explain it. Just trust me, this will work. And it's like she needed to know the detail. So it's an interesting thing, because I know a lot of people that are, husband and wife team, and they're a great team and great marriage. I know other people have got a great marriage but can't work together. It's an interesting, dynamic. You see people like the Hermoses working together, like to spend all their time together, business and life, so it's interesting.
I think if you do that, you have to have systems behind you. I think you have to boundaries have clear boundaries and separate roles. I don't think I don't know, wouldn't work for me if those roles bled into each other too much. I think that's the same in business. In fairness, though, I think we've been through a bit of a transition recently where we've sort of restructured our business. I come from a world of 360 recruitment, which basically means that one individual does everything. So they do the new business, they do delivery, they do marketing, client retention, everything. That was a traditional sort of setup for a contingency recruitment business. We tried to build a business, in that way. But what we found is that individuals nowadays just aren't capable of doing all those things at once. I don't know if it was unique about my generation or what really, but effectively now we run a slightly different process, which is we have new business, account management and delivery, 3 defined sort of pillars. And ultimately everyone, wherever they sit, are really specialist at what they do.
And they really understand what they need to do.
Yeah. And it's consistency. So you might say that actually, when you set up a recruitment business, you have to be really, really niche and do that. I would say to sort of counter that, I wouldn't say we're niche. I'd say we work within a sector, but within our business we have specialists that are very good at particular functions. And I think that's important to us. And that the realization for that was a couple of years ago when we went through a number of individuals that just ultimately weren't as successful as we wanted them to be. So when we looked at that, we were like, why was that? And ultimately I was trying to encourage them to be what I was. And that just isn't possible.
And you being the founder and the visionary for the business, and I've been here, it's actually a common thread when I speak to people on this show and other people outside of it. We think initially when we start a business and grow that everyone thinks the same as us and they'll want to grow, and everyone's got the same brain as us and they think the same. They actually don't. And it comes to a certain point in your business journey where you actually realise that, and you realise that sometimes you're the solution but also the problem.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think that was really brought out of me when I started having a business coach myself, a lady that's been through the process of building recruitment businesses and things, and she really made me look at like what we were doing and what we were good at versus what we were not so good at. And I think now structurally we're in a much better place. It's much easier for me as a founder now because I go, right, when we're hiring, like I know my next hire, for example, is an account manager. So I'm not looking for someone that is, intensely good at new business or winning clients. I want to find someone that mirrors someone like Chris, for example, in my business, that is just extremely good at managing and really attentive to the detail of managing those customers. And I think that's the beauty about the structure that we have now. Whereas before, you're trying to look for this like unicorn. Like it's just like it has to be brilliant at everything. And it's just not possible. And
we're all guilty, especially in the startup phase, because you're always, you're bootstrapping everything pretty much in the startup phase. So you kind of need to try and find jack of all trades at times. But then, even for small businesses, it's hard to find those people anyway because you're a small new business and they're not going to come to you, those really high quality people at that stage, and you have to kiss a lot of frogs. Even it's an interesting angle. Like recruitment businesses find people for their businesses, but sometimes recruiters, I'm not talking about your business here, Kai, but a lot of recruiters struggle to recruit for their own business.
No, it's totally, no, because you see the good in people. You really I really want this person to work. And that's the problem. I think when you're growing a business, though, you're so thankful at the start that someone will work for you. You're like, oh my gosh, someone's actually going to take a chance on me. Whereas, the more mature that business becomes, the more you go, right, is this person right for me? But I think it is classic. We haven't got to the point where we use agencies to source us people yet. But at some point that may be the answer, in all honesty, because you distance yourself from the process and you let someone else do the qualification, and it's something that obviously I advocate because that's what we do day to day. But I think it's an interesting trait. Not necessarily the best finding staff for your own business.
And from what I gather as well, you find that most recruitment businesses start from a recruiter within a big agency. They become a bit entrepreneurial. They see the money they're making for that company and they want to go in their own direction. And that's quite often how recruitment businesses start. I suppose that's the same for most businesses, most industries, and I think that's kind of how you start as well, wasn't it?
I think you have to be realistic, and this is it, right? For me, the realism comes is like how much value does that company give you as an individual versus how much are you giving them? Like throughout my career, I was always new business aligned. I was always winning business. It was just in my nature to go out and do it. So actually, I always felt that I didn't necessarily need a brand behind me in order to do my job. Whereas if you take someone, the structure we're trying to build is basically we're trying to have account managers that are customer centric, and ultimately it's my responsibility or the BD's responsibility to bring customers in for them to nurture and maintain. So actually the value we create, this is, in my mind, is huge because we're giving them an opportunity to earn a lot of money. Their responsibility to me is to nurture those customers and grow them and develop them into more than what they started with. Whereas traditional recruiters or recruitment businesses that I was involved in, you sat at a desk and you created your desk for that company. So you had nothing. Or you might get the odd job to feed off, but basically you had nothing and you just built and built and built. So I think, not everyone should be starting their own recruitment business ultimately, but you have to, as an individual, you have to find the right business that's perfect for your skill set.
I can't remember what the term was during COVID, but there was a lot of people starting up businesses during COVID because they had loads of time on their hands. They were getting furlough payments, and a lot of social media glamorises how easy it is to start a business. In reality, it's not. And people only see the highlight reel, don't they, on Instagram? You know, they see the success that seems to happen overnight, but in reality, it's taken years and years of graft, long nights, sleepless nights, stress. Can I make payroll this month, etc., before you get to that point where it looks like everything's great?
No, I agree. The interesting thing about that is you probably only see founders when they are successful, don't you? Yeah, as you said.
Yeah.
Like, because they suddenly have some time and they suddenly think, right, actually now I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
But generally, you're in the trenches constantly working. And one thing, actually, getting back onto Dubai, one thing I find challenging about Dubai is actually, in my nature, I've always, I've started work early and finished late. That's just always been part of it. But I consistently find that 9 o'clock in the morning in Dubai, which is obviously plus 3 hours from the UK. So I have like a couple of hours to myself where I can just focus and tidy up a few things that I need to. And then pretty much from midday till 10 at night, I'm engaging with my team. And that's consistent. And generally what I do is Monday to Thursday, that's what I follow. And then Friday I have a little bit of flexibility. But Dubai has this way about you where you're naturally just always sort of working.
You're always on.
Yeah, so you have to balance that. That is, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've only been here for the time recording around 10 weeks. And I can totally relate to that because most of my business is back in the UK, and I'm having to be a bit more strict with my diary because you're right, I'll have people who used to want to speak to me at 4 or 5 p.m. UK time. And whilst I'll still do that for the right reason, general calls and stuff, that's got to stop because to invert that, what I do like about being here is I can get all of my personal stuff done in the morning. Like you said, I can go to the gym, I can walk the dog, I can get the steps in, do a bit of creative stuff in the morning before the UK even wakes up. But and you actually can't help sometimes here in the short time I've been here get sucked into the working hours here because it's all go all the time, and I actually sometimes already feel a bit guilty if I'm not working at that time because I see other people around me here are constantly switched on. But again, I've got to balance that by saying, well, I've got 2 young kids. That guy's 25-year-old millionaire in Dubai Marina. He can afford to do that. He's not got the same lifestyle. So
I think that's the thing about Dubai. You're surrounded by people that are ultimately more successful than what you are currently. So you're, I think, I don't know. I was I did golf Thursday morning, I think it was. That was it. And I met these 2 Aussie guys that had been here for like 15 years. I was like, wow, you either meet people in Dubai, it's either they've been here 15 to 20 years, so they've seen it literally grow, or someone like me or yourself that's just sort of arrived.
5 minutes.
Yeah. These guys were actively saying that this is the best place that they've ever lived and would ever live. I thought that was really interesting. And then they sort of said, why did you come over here? And I was like, well, for business reasons, etc. But when you look around Dubai as an entrepreneur, this is the thing that is the hook for me. Dubai by nature is entrepreneurial. You look around you, it's progressive. Everything's progressive. So there's a new building going up there. There's new this. There's new that. There's
even the standards of cleanliness, like there's cleaning the streets every single day where I live. Trimming hedges every day. It's crazy. But
everything is entrepreneurial and progressive. Whereas in the UK, where we lived previously, which was lovely, but I think if I took a picture of Guildford 10 years ago versus now, I don't think there'd be much change. So actually, as an entrepreneur, the environment doesn't necessarily share your ambition, whereas Dubai does share that ambition, and this is what sort of attracted to us. But not only that, like My kids are going to an amazing school now. They've the people they've met is everyone's really engaging.
Their lifestyle, I'm guessing, so much more active.
Yes, yeah. Obviously now the hot weather's coming in, so we're a little bit more indoors. But it's just again, you adapt. Dubai's great for that. But I think that's the key with it. Dubai by nature has ambition.
Yeah.
And
it's when you mentioned something there. So back where I live in Scotland, across the Central Belt, actually the whole Central Belt, the communities are all, the councils are all having cuts to their budget. So it's again the opposite. And what made me think about that is, like, there's leisure centres, there's pools that are all getting closed down.
So sad, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, when I actually think about it, there's been no investment, like, at all into these little towns. Even Glasgow and Edinburgh, maybe a different story, it's more touristy, but Glasgow, if you looked at Glasgow today compared to 10 years ago, it's really scary how far it's declined. And that's happening across the UK at a massive scale. There's a lot of news just now about a lot of people leaving the UK and coming to places like this, because, and when I say people, I mean mostly business owners, mostly entrepreneurs, or people that have got a bit of ambition that are just sick of the way the UK is going.
I think, I'm always conscious of not being a UK like basher.
Yeah, of course.
But as an entrepreneur, it's hard work. It's tiring. Like, it's really tiring.
Yeah.
And when is what we spoke about earlier. When you take nothing to something, I believe that has great value in society, because ultimately the increased success that my business would have or your business would have will bleed into society, because it will create jobs, it will create wealth, it will create
something out of nothing.
Correct. But I always felt that the UK never wanted my type of business. It didn't encourage it, which is a real shame. We're not pulling out of the UK. We are absolutely still there, and it will stay there. But I think, I don't know, it just needs to be looked at. Like, they need to really encourage that growth,
especially in your sector, because it's an emerging market. It's growing all the time. I mean, have you heard of a guy called Daniel Priestley? No. Daniel Priestley, he's been on the Diary of a CEO and stuff, and I've been following him for years. He's a really, really clever guy. And he's got this idea where, to fix the UK, we kind of need to make it friendly for AI companies, crypto companies, tech companies, and almost become like a hub where those businesses are encouraged. You give them tax breaks, you give them... He actually described it as having like I forget the area, but it's just above London. Have that area, have it like our version of Silicon Valley, and attract these businesses back in, get the economy booming. But right now we're not known as anything. Like the UK, we're just known as this place where it's got all this history. We used to own the world, basically, but it's just been totally decimated, destroyed, and then all the values are leaving.
It's interesting, isn't it? So one thing about Dubai that we were looking at, my kids are 11 and 10. What happens after 16? Where do they go? Do they stay here? It seems like culturally a lot of families send their kids to the UK for education, for higher education. But naturally, as soon as that talent goes through and gets educated in the UK, it leaves the UK again. And I heard recently that they're making it more difficult for student visas and things. Right. So retention of that talent is critical, and that needs to be at the forefront of everything. They need to encourage entrepreneurship and everything. It's really it's sad for me to see that, because I great advocate of the UK. I love it, like it's my home. But at the same point, if you are ambitious, you need a framework around you to allow you to be successul. And I didn't feel that there was. I always felt that there was always something holding us back, or a big tax bill or whatever, or cost of hiring certain people. And they were like, in a small business in the UK, there's limitations on like contractors that you can actually have and utilise, because they want to encourage permanent members of staff. But you need to be agile in a small business growing. You need to be agile, and you need to pull resource from wherever you can as quickly as possible in order to leverage it. So little things like that now. But who knows? Who knows where it will go? Hopefully they'll sort it out.
Again, to use one of Daniel's things, like he describes it as like a pendulum swing. So in most economies over time, and this goes for, whether economies and societies go too far right or too far left, it goes so far and it has to eventually swing back because people are so fed up of it being this far over, it starts coming way back over. I mean, I hope that's true at some point, because the UK is amazing for so many things, and as a people, we're actually entrepreneurs at heart. UK people, I mean, there's so much things we've done in the world, but again, there's only so much you can take. You have to.
I just wonder about that idea of being a hub. I totally get that, but
how
are they gonna miss the boat? Because this technology is moving so quickly that unless you do so, I think the problem that the UK has, it can't be agile. So, if they're going to pass certain rules or whatever, it has to go through the process, and that could take a lot of time.
It's a taxation thing. I mean, not to get into tax too much, but I think the actual tax regs, I'm sure I heard this in a different podcast, there's something like 25,000 pages in the tax regs, and it's like, that's no wonder it's so complex and difficult, and there's probably certain loopholes that we could be using legally that we don't know about. Other people know about that actually write these things. It's crazy. So as we begin to wrap up, Kai, talk a wee bit about your business and what it looks like going forward. What does the future look like for you guys?
Yeah, so future for Austin Werner is obviously to continue down the route that we have chosen. I think we have to be sensitive of crypto. By nature, it's volatile, and that means at times when the wind is really behind us, it's hiring. But then during bear markets, everything the whole sort of everything locks up and shuts. So it's very difficult to make money in that type of market. The only way that you make money in that market is by being agile in terms of your engagement with customers and just becoming trusted partners or embedding yourself somehow and things. But I think effectively we want to continue down this route of innovative tech and bleed into things like AI, just tech that is fundamentally changing industry, because that is always where the talent is needed. I have no real ambition of growing like a huge business. I don't know what huge looks like, but some of my old employers are now for like 450 headcount and things. I can't see myself ever getting that big, but I would just like to create a global supply business that all under the sort of Austin Werner banner and always focusing on innovative tech. That's exactly where I want to be.
Acquisitions, part of the strategy?
Maybe. Never say never. The way that I sort of see that working at some point in the future is integrating into a bigger firm. I'm pretty confident to say that most companies won't just be able to put someone on a seat and say, go create a crypto market for them, because it is just too difficult. Like the engagements, the relationships you have with these people. We've worked on it for a number of years now, so we understand it. We speak the language, which is good. So I think at some point, if a business said, right, we need that arm and we need to embed that into our business because it's complementary, then of course, at some point we would entertain that. But at the moment, there's no reason to consider.
It's got rapid growth already.
The business is doing really well, and ultimately everything that we're doing now is just setting ourselves up for growth, really.
Okay, cool. So if the listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best method for them to get in touch with you?
Obviously LinkedIn is the powerhouse. I'm on there. Kai Crayford. Austin Werner is our website, so austinwerner.io. Email kai.c@austinwerner.io.
Awesome. Kai, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. I think we went through a lot of good topics there that hopefully the listeners will get some value from. And we should do this again sometime.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steven.
Awesome.
Good man.
Thank you.